They came, they saw, they did anything but conquer, and left before we'd really got to know them. This is the 10 lost teams of Formula 1. For this list, we're looking at teams that lasted 3 seasons or less, and were highly unsuccessful in the time that they were around. First up is the Onyx team that lasted from 1989 to 1990, with Stefan Johansson, Bertrand Gachot, JJ Lehto and Gregor Wojtek on driving duties. The team used outdated Ford DFR V8s and Goodyear tyres for both seasons. After struggling to make it to the first race on time, neither car made it past the first pre-qualifying barrier. Johansson started in Mexico and the USA, but retired in both before being disqualified in Canada. Johansson earned 2 points in France before a remarkable third was earned in the Portuguese Grand Prix, a race more famous for Nigel Mansell's black flag antics. 1990 would prove much tougher, with the best result being 7th for Wojtek in Monaco, but the team would not see out the season, wrapping things up after the Hungarian Grand Prix, where the team had its most famous moment 12 months earlier, where Johansson inadvertently blocked leader Ayrton Senna, allowing Nigel Mansell to storm past and win the race. Simtek arrived on the scene in 1994, with Goodyear tyres and Ford V8s to power David Brabham and Roland Ratzenberger. The car was often slow, but for a team that employed just 35 people, finishes in Brazil and the Pacific Grand Prix were impressive. At the San Marino Grand Prix, Roland Ratzenberger was killed after striking the barriers at the Villeneuve corner at over 190 miles an hour, the first F1 fatality since Elio De Angelis died whilst testing a Brabham at Paul Ricard in 1986. The team would score no points in its debut season, with a 9th place for Jean-Marc Gounon in France the best result. In 1995 the situation was dire. 4 retirements out of the first 5 races for Jos Verstappen, and a best result of 9th thanks to Domenico Sciattarella in Argentina was poor, but the team had also racked up a £6 million debt in just over a season of racing. The team pulled out after the 5th round of the 1995 championship at Monaco. Eurobrunn lasted from 1988 to 1990, with Ford and later Judd power, and Goodyear and Pirelli tyres. In 1988, Argentina's Oscar Larori and Italy's Stefano Modena were on driving duties. The team failed to qualify on a third of occasions, with retirements affecting a further third of race meetings. The best result of 11th for Modena in Hungary ensured that the team would take no points. In 1989, the team ran 1 car and failed to pre-qualify for every single round for the championship, even after Gregor Wojtek had been replaced by Oscar Larori from Italy onwards. In 1990, Roberto Moreno started from just 3 races, recording a best finish of 13th in the season opener in America. Aside from those 3 starts, the team failed to pre-qualify for all of the remaining races in both cars. The team was shut down at the end of the season, having started just 21 races out of a possible 76. The US F1 team was granted entry to the 2010 season, potentially making them the first American F1 team since 1985. Argentine driver Jose Maria Lopez was signed to drive for the team, but a lack of funds meant that the team never made it to the opening round in Bahrain. Such was the mismanagement of the team, this computer rendering is as close as they got to actually running a Formula 1 car in a competitive environment. The team was fined €309,000 and banned from competing in any FIA championship thereafter. Following the demise of the US F1 team before the start of 2010, Stefan GP, run by Zoran Stefanovic, entered the fray. Running ex-Toyota assets, Stefan GP attempted to get an F1 team off the ground just 6 weeks before the season opener in Bahrain. Despite not being granted a place on the grid, parts were shipped to the Gulf state in the hope of securing the last row of the grid. As it turned out, they weren't, but it is possible that Stefan GP could have scored points in 2010, seeing as the Toyota would have had vast amounts of money poured into it. Lamborghini Modena arrived in 1991 with an eye-catching and sleek car, the 291. Powered by a Lamborghini V12 and running on Goodyear tyres, Nicola Larini and Eric van der Poel could have expected decent results. The team were forced to pre-qualify for the first half of the season, where the drivers started the race just once each, but a 7th place for Larini in the season opener in the USA meant that they were spared for the second half. Unfortunately, Van der Poel failed to qualify for every remaining round, with Larini starting just 4 of the remaining 8 races, finishing just 2. The 7th place remained the best result, and the team disappeared after just 1 season after amassing enormous debt. Carlsen was a German outfit that entered Formula 1 in 1979, despite limited success in F2. The team created a copy of the 1978 championship-winning car, the Lotus 79, and mated it with an outdated 5-speed Hewland gearbox and a Cosworth DFV engine. However, the car was a disaster, and a complete redesign was necessary, which sapped the team's funds. They turned up to the Spanish Grand Prix at Jarama, where the team's sole driver, Gianfranco Brancatelli, failed to qualify after being 3 seconds slower than their nearest competitor. The team tried again in Belgium, but again failed to qualify due to a clutch problem. With depleted funds, team owner Willie Carlsen had no option but to shut the team down after appearing at just 2 Grand Prix. First Racing had competed in Formula 3000 from 1987 and decided to enter Formula 1 in 1989. Only one car was to be run, powered by a Judd V8 and driven by Gabriele Tarquini on Pirelli tyres. However, the car was badly made, and even designer Richard de Villa considered it to be dangerous. He was proved correct when the car failed an FIA crash test, resulting in the team pulling out of the season opening race in Brazil. The team folded shortly after, and therefore did not compete in a Grand Prix at all, but soldiered on in Formula 3000 until 1991. MasterCard Lola had originally planned to enter Formula 1 in 1998, but pressure from sponsors MasterCard meant that the team rushed the debut of their car forwards by a year. They arrived in Australia for the season-opening Australian Grand Prix, but both cars were stuck at the bottom of the timesheet. Vincenzo Sospiri was 11 seconds off the pace in qualifying, whilst teammate Ricardo Rosset was 13 seconds off the pole time, meaning that both cars fell foul of the new 107% rule, and therefore failed to qualify. The team arrived at round 2 in Brazil, but pulled out before the race, amassing a £6 million debt. Life picked up on the remnants of the first team in a bid to enter F1 in 1990 with Gary Brabham and Bruno Giacomelli driving the W12 powered cars. When Life arrived for the season opening race in America, they found that their engine was producing over 200 brake horsepower less than the engines their rivals were using, whilst the car was the heaviest in the field. In fact, the car was no faster than any F3 machinery. After failing to pre-qualify twice, Brabham left the team for good, and Giacomelli failed to complete more than 8 laps without a serious mechanical failure. At Imola, Giacomelli even said that he was scared of being rear-ended by faster cars, such was the Life's lack of pace. In Portugal, Life abandoned its own W12 engine in favour of a Judd V8, but the engine cover did not fit the new engine and promptly flew off on the car's first lap. With 2 races to go in the 1990 season, Life gave up, having failed to pre-qualify for 14 races out of 14 and failing to complete a single season. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like. Also, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future videos, and thanks for watching.